here.
Boo. It's still playing. I still had the music playing in the background. Hold on.
Oh.
I had an echo at the beginning. I knew I was going to mess something up today because I had like 5 things going when I started setting everything up. So I knew I was going to do something wrong. So sorry about the echo at the beginning, everyone, or anyone that's catching the replay. I apologize. We have Miss Nettie, the beautiful Miss Nettie, here with me today and every Sunday from MelNetteLivingFreeZipCodeless. You can check her out in the links below in the description. Make sure you do.
Thank you.
And then we have Linda Barker over there in the comments, coming over from a Johnny's Journey raid. So thank you, Miss Johnny's Journey, for the raid. We have Emily. Hello, long time no see, my beautiful friend. Get over here on the right page. Emily.
Yeah.
Linda. We have Happy Place Camping. Hello and welcome. Okay, Happy Place over in Johnny's Journey was saying that her daughter worked and lived in Skidmore.
Really?
And then she said when she went to Skidmore to visit, she got a creepy vibe. Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
Skidmore's so creepy. Is this going to be a 3-part series or 4 at this point?
It's a 3-part that we're doing live, but the next episode has 2 in it. So
yeah. So there's 4 like very popular cases out of Skidmore, Missouri, which is a town of, at this point, 200 and something people, but originally had 400 and something people. So 200 of the 400 and something people that lived in this town said, F it, I'm out.
And I believe the census is saying it's like 184. They just haven't updated the sign yet. So it's like just, dropping.
So they're under 200 people now.
They're under 200.
They're like, see ya, we're out of this small town. Like, small town life is supposed to be like the best thing to live, right? And people are like, nah, we're out of this small town.
I know.
So, in that small of a town, to have 4 major stories that we can cover. I mean, it's a 3-part series, but 4 major stories. That's kind of insane. So let me welcome everybody else in. We have, I'm going to mess up this first word. I apologize, but it looks like Tominas. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Reborn Angels. Hello and welcome. I think this is the first time I've seen you, so thank you so much for coming in on our Sunday show. Then we have Johnny's Journey. Hello. Thank you so much for the raid. Tommy's Travels. Hello, everyone. I'm about to head home from an adventure, so I can't content, but I'll be listening. Thank you so much, Tommy, for listening in. All right. You pronounced it correctly? I did. I'm so proud of myself.
Yay.
Keely, hello and welcome in. All right, so let's jump into the story because we went a little bit overtime last time because these stories can get pretty intense. Just a little, like a half hour over last time.
It's a good story.
But anybody that was here last time, I had said that we would look into how old Ken's wife was when he married her. So if you haven't seen last week, that was part 1. And he had a wife that was kind of running around town bullying people too. And we weren't sure because he was charged. No, not charged. He was the town bully and he was accused of many things and they knew he did many things. I think maybe he was charged with messing with young ladies. Was he charged? Yeah, he had been charged.
Yeah, I think he got off,
he got off on the charges. Yeah. He never served time, but he had done many things to young women. And so we had wondered if the reason the wife was going along with a lot of the things she was going along with was, did he mess with her when she was young, and had she been groomed? So Nettie found a bunch of information on the
Yeah.
wife. And what we will say in this episode is the wife was indeed young. How young, we're not going to let that out yet. But we will say she was young, and there is a wow to her story.
Oh, yes.
And we're gonna give you a cliffhanger with, you'll want to tune in next week to find out more about his wife, because holy cow, she had a heck of a life. And you might understand why she was doing some of the things she was doing. So tune in next week for that story. Would you agree?
I agree.
Yeah. You think they're going to want to hear that next week?
Oh, yeah.
I was out and about, and Nettie sent me the article, and I was like, I'll read this later. And then I got like 2 sentences in, and I was like, never mind. I sat down and started reading the article. I was like, what? So, yeah. Okay. But this week, we're going to go over the story of Branson Perry. He's another young man from the town of Skidmore. So let's jump in. It started playing right off the bat. Okay. Inside Branson Perry's disappearance and the eerie story behind it.
On April 11, 2001, 20-year-old Branson Perry vanished from outside his own home in Skidmore, Missouri. 2 years after his disappearance, a sickening clue emerged.
It was a day like any other when Branson Perry walked outside his home to return jumper cables to the shed on April 11th, 2001. But then the 20-year-old vanished from his own yard, and he was never seen again. Beautiful flower garden.
Mm-hmm. I actually thought that was a house, but that's a pretty large shed, you know?
Yeah, it is a very large shed. I probably would guess back in these smaller towns, that this was originally like a house on the property, and then they built a bigger house and turned this into the shed. Like, because in the older towns, they kind of do that. They turn the older homesteads into, Thin Blue Lane RV Life, hello, and Chaco, hello.
Though Perry's father was hospitalized at the time, 2 mechanics were working on the elder Perry's car, while a friend was helping Perry with some chores at the house. Despite all these witnesses, no one knew where the young Missouri man had gone.
Hey, James Catnies, hello and welcome. I find it interesting throughout the whole story, though, that the maintenance, the mechanics' names are like so protected. They don't talk about the mechanics much. Yeah. I'm not interested. This house looks so weird to me, but I think it's just the picture. Being a photographer, like, I can look at it and realize that maybe it's just the picture's kind of askewed. Like, does anybody see what I'm seeing? Like, if you look at the top 3 windows, it looks like maybe it
looks like it's distorted.
Distorted. Yeah, like the word wasn't coming to me. Distorted. Yeah. The camera is distorted a little. Yeah. It looks like it should be on like Haunted something. If you picture it in black and white,
Oh.
Uh, it looks funny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the house looks crooked. Everybody's seeing it. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that was the first thing I saw. Is the house
Yeah.
leaning?
So this way.
I'd run from that house too. No. All right. I was thinking that too. That's the first thing I thought when I looked at it. All
Mm-hmm.
right. Um, Immediately suspecting foul play, police tracked down Perry's newfound drug acquaintances, but their questioning led to nothing. Everyone was given a lie detector test. Everyone who was given a lie detector test. I'll get this sentence right eventually. Passed it, leaving authorities dumbfounded. Yes, Keely, that's what I
Yeah.
was trying to say, is the lens that was used is making it look that way. It's a rounding lens. I can't think of the name of the lens right now. Oh, my brain sometimes. Okay, sorry.
But in 2003, a potential break came when police identified a suspect, Jack Wayne Rogers. Initially arrested for separate crimes, Rogers was later discovered to have written some disturbing online posts detailing the torture, and murder of a blond male hitchhiker that fit Perry's description.
See, Shako, sometimes you can be extremely helpful when my brain doesn't work right. Other times you frustrate me. But yes, fisheye lens. That's what I was trying to come up with. Um, Keeley says, in order to be even remotely useful, which is questionable to begin with, a lie detector test has to be administered by an expert. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yes. I think everybody has different views on
Yeah.
how good or bad a lie detector is. Nevertheless, Jack Wayne Rogers was never able to be charged, and Branson Perry's disappearance remains unsolved to this day. I think that's actually why lie detectors aren't admissible in court. However, police can use them to determine whether or not they think they should follow that lead in that direction or not. I think that's how they work.
Born on February 24th, 1981, Branson Kane Perry was raised in Missouri and graduated from Nottoway Holt High School in 1999. After working as a roofer for some time, he lost his job and decided to help with the traveling petting zoo as he looked for another occupation.
Now, Shako, you know that we cannot let that comment through. Come on now. The other ones I can let through, but I am sitting here laughing at the fact you thought I was going to let that comment through. Sorry, everybody, but I can't tell you what he said. He said laugh out loud. You're a mess. All right. Sorry. Got me laughing. I'm getting in trouble for laughing on some of these stories, but if people could see the things that people write in the comment section sometimes, they would understand.
Yeah.
Okay. My mods know what got written over there. All right. Sorry. All right. You okay. I gotta press play, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
You got me all busy over here, Shako. All right. Traveling zoo. Oh, you got to pet kangaroos. All right. Perry's parents were divorced, and he lived with his father, Bob Perry, at 304 West Oak Street. Although Perry suffered from tachycardia, woo, I'm proud of myself on that one, which made his heart race, he was quite active. He had a black belt in Hakudio and enjoyed lifting weights. All told, he lived a relatively uneventful life until that fateful day in 2001.
On April 7, 2001, Branson Perry visited his neighbor Jason Brenham, who allegedly gave him an unidentified drug. According to true crime expert Diane Fanning, Perry responded by stripping naked and dancing around Bremen's home. He then shaved off his pubic hair and participated in SA with Brenham.
That's the part I'm confused by. Like, no matter what kind of drugs you be doing, like I could see like the essay stuff or like, having, I don't know, intercourse, like experimenting, like when you use something and you have like a bad reaction to it, but like
Yeah.
taking the time to shave off your stuff, like that's where I'm really confused, because when you're all messed up on something, I don't know, comment section, help me out if you ever tried, stuff when you were younger, like drugs or alcohol or whatever. Like when you were impaired, did you go grab a razor? Like I would think that would be a dangerous activity to do while impaired. I'm struggling with that part of this
Yeah.
story when I read it. And I know that's kind of strange to be talking about over here, you know, when we're reading this story, but I kind of pay attention to those tiny details in a story, and I go back and think those things over, because that just seems very strange to me. And I know it's tiny and it doesn't mean much to other people, but if that's something that somebody's lying about, what else are they lying about? You know what I mean? It just seems off to me. That little thing seems very off to me. I just don't see someone picking up a razor and shaving themselves while impaired. It seems weird. Keely,
Yeah.
I can't let that through. I'm reading your comment. Sounds like he was drugged and AR'd. Definitely, I agree. If I let that through, YouTube will flag that. Just put R next time in the comments. No biggie. And anyone else, just put R in the comments next time. Because these stories do get graphic like that. But yeah, I agree. I think that's what happened for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But the extent of whoever told the story of him like shaving it, it's like, did they say this because they wanted people to think he voluntarily did this? And like, because the shaving part kind of makes me think that they were like, oh yeah, he was all into it and shaved himself up for it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
versus them wanting to admit that they did it to him. You know what I mean? So that's, oh, you're fine, Keely. You're fine. It won't unless I let it through. I just wanted you to know that I saw your comment. So,
And maybe I'm just thinking out of the box, because obviously, he told his dad about what took place. So maybe he said that so his dad wouldn't be so angry if he knew if Jason did it. You know what I mean?
yeah.
It could have been something to that nature, or
Yeah, maybe he didn't want his dad to be as mad. Yeah, I just feel like that part of the story doesn't kind of add up. And it's like, why doesn't it add up? And then the fact that nothing went, we're going to read about the rest of this part of the story. But to me, I just wanted to kind of stop and talk about just that little portion of it, because something for me didn't add up with that, which makes me wonder where that comes in, because it just didn't add up to me. Keely, he knows Shako can be a little bit of a handful. Ignore him. He's actually probably making fun of the situation, not the victim. Isn't that right, Shako, over there typing things all the time that I don't let through? Sorry. Gotta address my Shako in the comments over here. All right. Yeah, I claimed you. Been around long enough, I'll claim you now. He said, I thought you let all my comments through.
Whoops.
All right. Is it your turn or mine?
It's your turn.
All right. Sober and humiliated the next day, Perry explained the situation to his father, who was furious. Though he'd always suspected his son was gay, the elder Perry was reportedly enraged at Bierman for drugging, then using his son, and even considered teaching him a lesson. "30 minutes later, we're past the shaving incident." Oh, shush.
However, no confrontation ever took place, which made Perry's disappearance even more confounding. As far as we know, Brenham has never been officially named as a prime suspect in the case, and it's unclear how or if he responded to Perry's disappearance.
Yeah, see, if I thought somebody had R'd my son or took advantage of my son, I'd be in jail. Like, seriously. So I don't understand. That's what I was saying. Like, the shaving thing plus the dad not taking action, it just didn't add up to me. Something there doesn't add up.
Mm-hmm.
As Perry's mother, Rebecca Becky Clino?
Yeah.
I don't know. Shako, explain how I say that word. As Perry's mother, Rebecca Becky, recounted on her website, the circumstances of her son's disappearance remain rather unclear. Keeley said the same thing. Don't add up to her either, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm assuming her.
Yeah. What is known for certain is that Perry and his friend Jenna Crawford were cleaning the house while his father, Bob Perry, was in the hospital. Meanwhile, two mechanics were outside replacing Bob's Perry's alternator.
I did want to say that was a picture of the mother. I meant to say that. And she's absolutely stunning. The mother is so beautiful. The dad was in the hospital when all this went down, when the son disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
Although, I mean, not to like point fingers because I don't want anyone to think that I'm saying this. As far as the dad making him disappear, you can't say the dad didn't like have somebody else do something. I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm just saying like if the dad and him had bad blood, but I think the dad and him were on very good terms. It seemed the dad really loved him and his siblings. So I don't think the dad had anything to do with it. But, you know, there's all kinds of avenues you can explore in crime. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
That's a good point that Linda Barker's saying.
I think the dude wanted Perry to look younger, so he had him shaved. Oh, you know what? That is a really good point. And that kid already looked, Brandon Perry.
Looks young.
He already looks really young because he was old enough to be out working the traveling petting zoo, but he doesn't look that old. He looks like he belongs in high school. So, yeah. Keeley said, I mean, if it was my kid or friend or anyone I was near, yeah, you'd be taking care of business too. Yeah, see?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Happy Place said, makes sense. Yep. Shako says, I get that all the time. Shako be sicko. When to rename you. Sorry, had to say it. All right. Keely said 2 mechanics made a house call to change an alternator. Were they mechanics or just 2 guys? It's going to get weirder. There's going to be another little thing with these mechanics. And again, this is why I say it's weird their names have not been put out there. So, all right. Whose turn to read next?
It's your turn.
I always lose track of that. Sorry, everyone. I know I ask that all the time. My brain don't work. Forgive me. Out of nowhere, Perry suddenly grabbed something from a cabinet and then went outside. Upon returning, he didn't tell Crawford what it was he grabbed or why he left. So this leans into the theory of being gay. Like, I'm going to go hang out with the guys. I've got an excuse now to go out there. It leans in that. If you read into that this way, it could lean into he wanted to go out there and be with them. I guess you could take it that way. I'm just putting a theory out there. You could take it that way. Or, maybe he owed them money. You could take it the drug route way. Or he was in trouble. And I don't know. You could take it a lot of different ways.
For Kaylee's question, they were divorced. The mother didn't live there.
Yeah,
he lived with his dad. Now, Crawford took a shower. This is Jenna, the friend that was there at the house. Crawford took a shower after they finished cleaning and then saw one of the mechanics rifling through a kitchen cabinet. When she asked what he was looking for, he told her that it was nothing and went back outside. Resting upstairs, Crawford looked outside the window at about 3 p.m.
See, are they family friend mechanics? What are they doing just walking in the house? Like, okay, I've had family friends over that are mechanics or like mechanics, guys that work on cars. And they don't just walk in my house, or like my dad, when I was younger, would have his buddies over and they'd be working on the car outside. They didn't just walk in the house. Like, my dad would be like, hey, BB, go show them where XYZ is. And they would have one of us walk them in the house and show them where something was. They didn't just come in and start going through stuff.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't understand why Perry wasn't, showing them where that was, or Crawford wasn't showing them where something was in the drawer. It's very weird. Again, I know this is something small, but why wasn't somebody showing them where something was in the drawer? This is very weird.
And what was happening, Kaylee, is they were Jenna Crawford, which is his friend, a girl that was his friend, and Perry Branson. They were cleaning the house, getting it ready for his dad, because his dad was in a hospital, and apparently he was going to be getting out of the hospital in the next few days. So she took a shower after they were cleaning, and she decided to take a rest. So that's who was resting, was Jenna.
Yeah, I think that it sounds to me, if we're going to go the innocent route of everyone that was around the house, it sounds to me like everyone really loved his dad and that his dad was a really good man. Okay, so let's think of this in the most innocent way we can possibly think of it. His dad was a good man. They were a good family that was very loved by everyone around them. And since his dad was getting ready to come home from the hospital, they wanted to get his vehicle up and running good. They wanted to have the house nice and cleaned up. And so everyone was in this little small town was kind of pulling together and just getting everything ready for him. That's what this story sounds like, right? And then Branson Perry goes missing. And so now everyone's looking at all of these things that were good deeds and trying to kind of pick apart, well, what the heck happened? There's something here that can't add up. You know what I mean? But had this not happened, all of this would have been looked at as just good deeds, I think, is kind of the basis of this. Now what was good deeds is being looked at as, where's the bad apple in this? who is the bad apple in this. So, Happy Place said, yeah, but you didn't live in Skidmore, BB. True. And Shaco,
No,
I am going to throw your comment up here so people can see why I laugh during these streams. He says there would probably be excessive mechanics at BB3's house if word had spread about her shaving antics. The devil is in the details. Small stuff matters. Exactly. I know that I get on a kick and talk about these little small things, but I think sometimes, and I think the police do this too, is they go back and they run over these things over and over again
yeah.
until they find those very small, minute things that nobody else kind of looked at. And I think those things are really important. I'd like to know who the mechanics were. Were they licensed? Did they work at an established shop? That goes to the credibility. I agree. And then there was a comment earlier you made that I wanted to go back to about the polygraphs. Sorry, I know that was a while ago, but I did catch it. Ah, here it is. You said that was according to my paralegal teachers, all lawyers. So the information you had shared about in order to be even remotely useful, which is questionable to begin with, a lie detector test has to be administered by an expert, which I fully agree with. And that's kind of the problem with them. A lot of people are saying that they're experts or licensed or whatever. They're not asking the proper baseline questions first. And if you don't get those first baseline ones, it throws off the whole test, I think is the problem with them. All right. Hello and welcome. Marion, I think is how you say your first name, and Salonga. I butchered the whole last one, but hello, welcome. Thanks for coming in. Okay, on to the next one.
And it's your turn.
She saw Perry leaving the house and called out to him asking, Branson, what are you doing? Perry replied, I'm going to put away the jumper cables, then run out for a bit. I'll be back in a few minutes. It was the last time anyone saw him. When I originally heard this story a long time ago, they left out the part where they said that he was going to run out for a bit. They literally, in the story that I heard, only said that he was just running the jumper cables over to his shed and he disappeared.
To the shed.
And I was like, how the heck did he disappear going from the house to the shed? They're right next to each other. And I was so confused by this story, but you have included the fact that he ran out for a bit and that's where he disappeared. And it blows my mind when people cover these stories and don't include the whole portion of it. It blows my mind. But apparently he runs out for a bit and then that was the last time he was seen. So that's interesting that people leave out those big portions, but thank you, Nettie, for including all of it where he didn't just disappear in his own yard.
Yeah. Poof, he's gone.
Poof, he's gone. It's all about that baseline.
No trouble.
No trouble.
Since Perry's father would still be hospitalized for a few days, his grandmother, Joanne Stenneth, dropped by on April 12th to see him. She asked Perry's father if Branson had come to visit the night before, and he said that he hadn't. Though it was somewhat alarming since Branson had visited him every night he was in the hospital, she initially shrugged off her worry.
In Skidmore, I think we've covered alien abduction twice now. So, it could be. Aliens do a lot of crazy things. Keeley said there are too many variables that can influence the results of a lie detector test, and results are not cold hard fact. They are interpretations. True. But then she dropped by the Perry home where she found the doors open and Branson gone. Now worried, she started asking around town, but no one had seen him. On April 16th, 2001, she and his parents went to the police to file a missing person report. Yeah, he looks so young.
Hmm. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was 20 at the time.
Yeah.
Not only was it uncharacteristic of him to be out of touch for so long, but all of his personal belongings were left behind. Foul play was immediately suspected.
This I agree with. Always follow your gut feeling. If something was alarming to me, I don't think I'd shrug it off. As a mom, I do that all the time. My gut, like, it kicks in, and I'm like, that there's something not right. I
Mhm.
recently just had that happen. I'll tell you a quick story. It won't take long. 3 years ago, I had a gut feeling that my daughter was doing something. I didn't know which of the two things that it was, but I knew something was going on. And it's taken 3 years. My daughter just recently told me what was going on those 3 years ago. And I looked her in her face and I said, I told you back then, I knew. And she's like, I know you did. But she finally admitted to me what it was. And it was one of the
Yeah.
two things. So it's kind of funny that, your gut will always tell you, just follow that feeling.
Hmm.
So the doors open. So the Crawford friend left the doors open. Isn't that weird? Because she was there. You're right.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's, but I guess she thought he was coming back. So she probably left the door unlocked for him coming back. Right? That's probably what happened.
Yeah. You would think you would have a key, but yeah, she had to.
Well, back then in those towns, though, you would leave the doors unlocked. So Nottoway County Sheriff Ben Epsey began searching for Perry by combing a 15-mile perimeter of Skidmore. Authorities questioned hundreds of people, including Perry's drug acquaintances, but they all passed lie detector tests. No one seemed to know what happened to him. I have a question about the drug acquaintances also. I would
Yeah.
like to know, are we talking about hard drugs, or are we talking about the marijuanas? Are we talking about, like the happy lettuce, or are we talking about we're doing some stuff that the good Lord would not approve of? Like, what are we talking here when we're talking drug acquaintances? It's kind of what I'm wondering. Um, Branson was the cousin of Bobby Joe Stinton, who gets murdered. It's totally unrelated incident. Hang in there. And then I wouldn't do that to a friend. Lock the doors. He had his keys. Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, I don't know. But in small towns, you leave your doors open. You
That's
know.
true. Yeah, that's true.
So, but the fact that she was upset that all the doors were unlocked makes me wonder if they locked their doors. So I don't know. Can't even read the sign. It's so worn down.
But then in 2003, a promising suspect appeared in a rather gruesome way. It all started when a former Presbyterian minister and Boy Scout leader named Jack Wayne Rogers was arrested for separate crimes that had nothing to do with Perry.
Um, Happy Place says, I live in a small town and have always locked my doors. See, I grew up in I would say, small town. Like, my friends came from the city, and when they would come out to my house, they would ask where our cows were. So I would say it was a small town. We didn't
Yeah.
lock our doors. We didn't. I mean, in all honesty, we didn't. People knew not to walk in our door because if you did, our shotgun was sitting there. Like, it was the way that it was. You knew not to walk into our doors. I mean, there was a good chance that trouble was arising if you was walking in. I mean,
Yeah.
the town's not like that anymore. It's blossomed and it's grown, but that was the way that it used to be. It's a dangerous strain called the devil's lettuce. Was it only the one time Perry had taken drugs and been drugs, so calling them drug acquaintances unnecessary unfoundedly tarnishes Perry's reputation? I would guess.
Oh, yeah.
I would guess since he was part of a traveling pet, and this is just a guess, and I hate to tarnish his reputation because we don't know. I mean, it hasn't been confirmed. But I would guess, given the lifestyle that he was living, that it seems like maybe he was familiar with drugs. But again, what kind of drugs? Since this was reported back in, happening in the early 2000s, that's before, like, you have to remember, we're just now to a point where the devil's lettuce is considered normal. Like, it's just now being normalized. Back in the early 90s, it was considered devilish. It was bad. And like now it's considered medical. So if marijuana is, I said the word. If that's what we're talking, I was trying to use other words so it didn't get flagged on my channel here. But if that's what we're talking about, then that's not really bad. You know what I mean? Like they're selling it at stores now. But if we're talking other stuff, he was probably hanging with some shady characters. But you got to remember, any stories and articles that were written that were talking about the devil's lettuce, they were talking in terms just like you would be talking about these harder drugs. So I don't know. That it's kind of, it's hard to determine what level.
Right.
If you think about it. I hope that makes sense what I'm saying. Linda said red flag. Boy Scouts is always a red flag. I hate to say that, but it really is. That's actually why I led my son's Boy Scout troop. Is that bad that I was that mom that was like, oh, you want to do Boy Scouts? That's fine. I'll lead the troop. I was scared for my son. Johnny's Journey says we always lock our doors. Always. Yeah, I do now too as well. They should be clear that it's the arrest that had nothing to do with Perry's disappearance. If Rogers had something to Perry, then it was certainly related. Maybe they were doing shrooms, which it would make sense with the way he was acting. That's true. Mm-hmm. That's true. And also very much more on the side of devil's lettuce as well, and not so much the does everybody understand how I'm trying to break down the hard stuff versus like I guess the stuff that grows on the earth naturally versus the stuff they're making? Does that make sense? Like there's two different kinds of things. Not that I do any of this, but there's two different kinds of things, and I'm not saying any either or is like great for you, but there's stuff that they're really bad people, and then there's other stuff that's like they're not really gonna off you over. Does that make sense? Yeah. No, it's great that you were a troop leader. My mom was a Girl Scout troop leader. Oh, that's great. Mm-hmm. No, not bad at all. I never trusted anyone around my kids. Yes, I totally understand. It also could have been amyl nitrate. I have no idea what that is. Okay. Believe it or not, I was a Girl Scout leader. Oh, great. Yeah, I didn't go that route. After attempting to perform reassignment surgery on a trans woman and failing to stop the bleeding, Jack Wayne Rogers was charged with first-degree assault and practicing medicine without a license. But when authorities searched his belongings, they discovered evidence of even more disturbing crimes on his computer. This
Yeah.
part shocked me.
This
This
guy's
part
sick.
sick, disgusting. Like, who thinks, who let him do this? Who was like, I want it gone so bad that I'm gonna let you, who has no medical license, go ahead and chop my thing off. Like, who thought that he was their savior and gonna take care of it all for them? Like, what?
Then he wants to keep it.
Like, and what made him think that he could fix that up for them? I
Not
am,
bleed to death. I know.
that is a major surgery, turning that thing inside. Okay, sorry. I know I'm going off subject again, and we're going to run over because we're only halfway through the video. I'm sorry. This Skidmore stuff is interesting to me. Like, this man cut off a wee to turn it inside out and make it into something else. Like, why did he think that he could do it?
And he
Also,
was a minister, and
well, obviously he wasn't a minister that
yeah,
believed in what he was preaching, because they really don't believe in that kind of stuff.
yep.
So, but like, I'm really blown away. I just don't get it. Oh, I moved my, okay. Um, must have his merit badge in gender reassignment surgery.
Linda.
Sorry. Okay. And this is why I laugh during our live streams.
Sometimes we
Yeah.
have to, just to kind of
We do. Like,
mellow it out.
these stories are like insane. Insane.
No
I am,
disrespect. Yeah.
no disrespect.
Mhm.
I want these missing people to be found. I want these families to have peace and comfort. But also, you have to look at some of the stuff that goes on in these stories and think, this is insanity, you know?
Yeah.
I could go for a hot pocket. Oh, Shaco. Sicko, Shaco. Or was he trying to turn them back into a male? Interesting question. Linda, you have me rolling. That is so funny. Okay. A lot of people hide behind their so-called faith in order to attempt to get away with stuff. 100%. Yes. All right. On with the story. This is just unreal, though. I'm telling you, this is why we are doing a 3-part series on
Yeah.
Skidmore, because the insanity of each one of these is unreal.
Not only did they find child, they also came across highly distressing online posts under usernames such as Boogerbutt, and these posts describe the torture, and murder of several men. In some cases, Rogers had even talked about cannibalizing severed genitals.
So he was going to cut it off and he was going to eat it. Was he going to, like, have a kebab? I don't know. Like, I'm going to barbecue it and have me a kebab. Gross. Like, terrible human. And what's even worse, when you look at this man, you could picture him walking down the street next to you, sitting next to you at church. Like, he just looks like a normal human being. It's disgusting. Perhaps most shocking was the post about murdering a blonde hitchhiker and burying him in the Ozarks. When questioned about this, Jack Wayne Rogers claimed the post was a work of fiction and denied ever meeting Perry.
But then police found a turtle claw necklace in Roger's car, which bear an uncanny resemblance to one of Perry's necklaces. However, none of this sufficed as hard evidence.
Yeah, that's the one we're doing next week, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Kebab, you crack me up. It was the first thing that popped to mind, honestly. I was like, then I kind of regretted that I let it pop out of my mouth. So sorry if I offended anybody.
You could have said hot dog, but
Could have.
Yeah.
I wondered if he was a closeted LGBTQ. Yeah, probably. We think of monsters as people we would be able to pick out of a crowd, but they are our relatives, friends, neighbors, teachers. Monsters don't look like monsters, otherwise, we'd stay away. Very, very true.
Yeah.
And that's often when I do these stories, I point out, look, this is somebody. Several times I think I've done that. There are a few, though, that I've pointed out, like was the mom of all those children and the dad with all those children.
Oh.
I can't remember their names,
Yeah,
but
I know who you're talking about.
yeah, they had all those children, but they barely left the house. And I think that's why they would have been so easy to pick out. They just never left the house, and that's why. But yeah, a lot of these people do look so very normal. So. In 2004, Jack Wayne Rogers was only convicted of assault, illegal surgery, child P, and obscenity. He received a 17-year sentence for assault, 7 years for illegal surgery, and 30 years for child P and obscenity. But it was never confirmed that he had anything to do with Perry's disappearance.
And Perry's mother waited for answers regarding her son, but she was eventually convinced that Rogers was innocent of abducting him. In my heart, I don't believe this suspect is responsible.
Tragically, the Perry family has dwindled in the last 2 decades. Perry's father died in 2004 and his mother succumbed to melanoma in 2011. But in April of 2019, Nottoway County Sheriff Randy Strong said that authorities wouldn't give up on solving the case, as justice and closure for the rest of the Perry's families are essential.
You go back through and you review the reports and see if we've missed anything, he said. The individuals involved continue to be a threat to the community. Second, it's the right thing to do. If it was a family member of mine or yours, you would want us to work on it as much as we could.
Keely, if you haven't seen last week's part 1, honestly, I know that it's a long one, but go back and watch it if you can, because it talks about a man who the whole town had to take action against because he was shooting people, like literally shooting people, and was not getting arrested for it. The justice system was failing, and I think the police were failing, and the town felt like they had to, in order to save their lives, deal with that. So yeah, the legal system was failing this town and not able to do what they need to do. And this is another example. They still have not found, I think now people are starting, but it's so many years later, I don't know that they're going to be able to solve it, unless somebody speaks up. So, yeah. It's kind of crazy. She's so beautiful.
Yeah.
I feel so bad for her in all of this. I mean, she's spent so many years. He continued, I think he was with a group of individuals that he knew when he was murdered, and it's pretty simple as that. The sticking point on this, I believe, is that we are dealing with drug culture. They're not willing to give much information, and we don't know where is the body is. Um, I don't know. I think maybe he's right, but also like again, what kind of drug culture? Did he have a drug addiction to the heavy drugs, or are you trying to blame this on marijuana? Like I don't know. What kind of drug culture are you talking about? Because I would think if he had a serious addiction, wouldn't that have come out by now? Wouldn't we have heard about that? I don't know.
Yeah. Before Perry's mother died, she reserved an empty plot next to her grave for her son. Even as authorities continued to search for him, Strong said that he and his colleagues would meet with the prosecutor's office the second they obtained enough evidence on a suspect.
Just because she is not here doesn't mean this train is not going to keep moving, said Missouri State Highway Patrol Sergeant Roger Phillips. It's about getting to the truth.
"20 years later, Branson Perry's search continues. For the past 20 years, it's been a nightmare for his family and friends trying to piece together what happened to Perry after he disappeared. Someone knows something. I promised his dad and his grandparents that I would never give up on finding Branson," Gail McMurray, Perry's aunt, said.
The 2 decades since Perry's disappearance have included dead-end leads, numerous rumors, and the death of his parents and grandparents, including the biggest advocate for his case, his mother, Becky, who passed away in 2011.
In spite of all that, people who Clino placed in her trust, like Monica Kaysen, founder of the Community United Effort Center for Missing Children, continue to search for Perry.
Law enforcement's not giving up. I know the family's not giving up. I know the family's not given up, and I know we haven't, she said. We just continue to try to keep his face out there in hopes that somebody will come forth with some good information that will lead actually to a recovery.
And many investigators, family members, friends, and members of the press have wondered what happened to Perry on that day in 2001. According to the Community United Effort Group, on the day of his disappearance, he was with a family friend who was helping him clean up the family home in anticipation of the return of his dad from the hospital.
Perry never came back from an expected walk to the shed to return a pair of jumper cables. He left behind all of his belongings, including his van.
At the Nottoway County Sheriff's Office, the case remains open. Sheriff Randy Strong has said in the past reports that he believes Perry's disappearance was drug related and foul play is suspected.
There have been some really good detectives that have worked on it in the past. I know most of them from the Highway Patrol and different agencies that have come in and looked. Strong said in a previous interview. They've laid a really good foundation, and I think they're on target, and it's up to us to pick up the ball and see if we can take it to the finish. Take it and finish.
Throughout the years, the sheriff office has received leads from law enforcement believed to be substantial. In 2003, 58-year-old Jack Wayne Rogers was suspected of kidnapping and murdering Perry after bragging about kidnapping and disposing of the man's body in the Ozarks.
He later said the story was fabricated. A tip in 2009 led authorities to conduct a 2-day excavation of land in nearby Quitman, Missouri, where they believed Perry's body was buried. No remains were found.
Perry's case continually rises back to the national spotlight with the recent event of true crime documentaries. It's been discussed on podcasts like Crime Lines, They Will Kill, and Trace Evidence. In 2019, it was featured in 2 installments of the Sundance Channel doc series No One Saw a Thing, which focused on high profile murders that happened in Skidmore.
Kaysen said that any reason for the case to be discussed again is a chance that someone may come forward to reveal what happened to Perry. I think a lot of people sit back and wait and hope that maybe it's that one day that the story will grab the heart of somebody reading it or guilt them to make them make that phone call or tell what they know, she said.
There have been small attempts at closure for the family, like Perry being listed as deceased in his mother's obituary, even though his burial plot remains empty. It is marked with a headstone bearing Perry's name, purchased in 2012 by his stepfather, Jim Clino.
That broke my heart.
Yeah.
Everyone involved in the investigation believes there's someone out there who knows something. The hope is that someone will let his or her guard fall and finally come forward with the truth.
I don't know if there will ever be justice for Branson. With our organization, our number one priority has always been to find him. All the rest is irrelevant, Kaysen said. We just want to bring him home and bring a resolution to a nightmare that his family has endured years after years after year.
Anyone with information can anonymously contact the Community United Efforts Center 24-hour tip line at 910-232-1687, Nottoway County Sheriff Randy Strong at 660-582-7451, or the Missouri State Highway Patrol at 800-877-3452. Branson Kane Perry, February 24th, 1981 to April 11th, 2001. Beloved son, brother, and grandson. I guess they decided to put his missing date on there.
Yeah.
The Reese just say, thank you so much for sharing us out and for stopping in. I really appreciate that. All right, let's go up and see the comments that we missed while we were reading through the end there. That's awful. Death is bad enough. Murder is worse. Missing is just off the charts torture. I agree.
Mhm.
My hair has been sticking up this whole... Okay, sorry about that. It's driving me nuts when I see it on the big screen. I wonder if anyone contacted those people who work on locating missing people. Ones on YouTube with the money, the gear, focused on finding individuals. I don't know. I'm sure that there's people on YouTube that have tried. I know. Has anyone watched? It's called Something with a Purpose. I can't remember the name of the channel exactly, but they go out and they dive for people. So if there's anyone that's in the water or like they know that there's people in the river, they go to certain rivers and just dive and look for cars and stuff. But they also, if there's missing people that are suspected to be in like certain ponds or whatever, they'll go in there, and they've found several missing people that way.
Oh, wow.
It's kind of an amazing channel. They just got involved in the young lady that just went missing. They're getting involved in her case now. So maybe he Adventures with a Purpose. That's what it's called. If you guys haven't checked out that channel, go check it out. It's a really good one. So maybe he never went out for a while. Who did he leave with if he left? The mechanics? That's what I was thinking when we were reading that last part there, is if he didn't take his car when he went out, sounds to me like he went out with those mechanics. Why are their names not released?
And you know what wasn't included in this story, because I done a lot of research and I didn't realize it wasn't in here, is when they were doing the first investigation, you know, they were talking to everybody, but then they came back and the jumper cables were found in the back door leaning up against the shed. So somebody brought the cables back. They weren't there initially when he went to return them to the shed.
So somebody came back with the jumper cables?
Yeah, because he left and put the jumper cables in the shed and apparently was going to go take off somewhere. But the jumper cables were never left in the shed.
Huh.
And then when they came back, when they were still doing their investigation, they found the jumper cables at a later time leaning against the back of the shed.
That's weird. That's very weird.
Mm-hmm.
And then, okay, so two scenarios that run through my mind is this friend that was there cleaning the house.
Yeah, Gina. Mm-hmm.
Gina. And this is just scenarios, okay? This is like, imagine the worst of everybody around, okay? Maybe she wanted more than to be a friend. Maybe her whole story is fake.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. She could be a relative for all we know, and they're calling her a friend. I don't know. But maybe she wanted to be more than a friend, and her whole story is fake, and she did something to him. I don't know. That's one scenario. The other scenario is the mechanics, and maybe he was gay, and maybe he hit on one of the mechanics, and they were like, oh, well, you know, sure, let's pretend we like him. We're pissed off he hit on us, and we're going to take him out and pretend we like him, but we're going to do something to him. You know, and that's ultimately what happened to him. You know, I don't know. Those are two scenarios that kind of run through my head. Now that we know that he didn't leave in his own van, I don't think it's like the police said that he was out doing drugs with his friends. I don't, unless it was a drug deal with the mechanics and the mechanics were his friends. You know, maybe that's...
He put something in the cabinet. He came in the house, he put something in the cabinet. Then shortly later, one of the mechanics came in and they were looking through the cabinets. And that's when Gina was like, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, I don't know. And then walked out. So something was going on between that.
Yeah, maybe they were his friends or his drug acquaintances. I don't know. But, or maybe his dad was into drugs and they were his dad's. I don't know. Maybe his dad told him to put something away or hide it because his dad knew those people. I don't know. The whole story just kind of doesn't make sense. And I don't know. I just get a funny feeling that those two mechanics had something to do with it. And I'm sure most people think that, especially with his van not leaving the property. He didn't just walk off.
No. Yeah.
So, What's even more horrifying that the idea that he may have been murdered as if he was still alive but enslaved. You know what I'm saying? Happens to girls and women all the time. Yes. Yes. Yeah, I can't. Yeah. Like driving in traffic is what you're saying. Yes. Reese just shared us out, and I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. So extremely sad. Yes. Skidmore is quite the interesting town. Not sure I'll make it next week, but we'll try. Even though I know the stories, I still find them interesting. Yes, and sometimes Nettie, most of the time, uncovers small facts and stuff that are not in most of the other coverage, which that's what I really enjoy about Nettie's research, is that she's able to pull some facts that are mind-blowing to me. Like next week, we're going to have coverage of Ken's wife, Ken McRoy's wife, that I did not know any of this. I have not seen it anywhere else. So it's going to be very interesting. Yes, like that one who dives. Yes, they did find folks, the 16-year-old boy. Yes. Adventures with a Purpose is what that channel's called. So if you haven't checked that out, check it out. Linda Barker said, I've seen them. Felix is heading out. Have a good night. Happy place. Pop, pop, fizz, fizz. I think I found Aunt Liz. And who would have known about that? The mechanics. Exactly. Whether or not the mechanics did anything to him, there are a few things off about what we've heard about them. Agreed. Definitely agreed. And the fact that they're not releasing their names leads me to believe, like typically when the police find someone of interest, okay, that the police are interested in, they don't talk much about those people. They kind of hold that stuff close to the vest. So the fact we haven't heard the police talk much about those mechanics leads me to believe that the police are interested in those people. Because if you listen to a lot of the cases where the police end up with that particular suspect arrested, in the beginning of those cases, the police tend not to talk about those people they arrest in the end, because they're investigating them and they don't want that information leaked out there. So kind of pay attention to that when you're dealing with true crime. Is the people the police are talking about the least when they do make an arrest, it's usually those people that are getting arrested. So maybe that's why we just haven't heard much about the mechanics, is because maybe they are the suspects or the drug acquaintances. Maybe the drug.
We don't know if the story's true that Gina is telling them, because apparently she's the only one that spoke to them. Like, where are you going? And who knows if that's what really took place.
Yeah. And maybe the drug acquaintances are the same people as the mechanics. Maybe they are the exact same people, and that the police just haven't said that they're the same. So, but remember, everybody, we're going to have the information about Ken McElroy, I think I'm saying his last name, his wife. We're going to have all that information in next week's story, and y'all want to hear it, I promise you. So come back next week for that and for part 3. So thank you all for coming this week. I really appreciate it. Wishing you all much kindness and much love.
And we're sending love your way. Good night.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.